For a lot of people who visit and holiday in Cornwall, it's very easy to fall in love with this magical place by the sea. And indeed, many of us come back time after time to get a slice of the Cornish scenery, relaxed pace of life and beachside living. It's also very common for people to find a place in Cornwall they fall in love with, be that a picturesque Cornish village, a beachside retreat, or a quiet cosy cottage on the stunning coastline. Before we moved down, and having visited most places in Cornwall many times, for me, this was always St Mawes. I just fell in love with the coastal village on the Roseand Peninsula and all its charm, stunning views, cute walks, and of course, amazing fresh fish. So today, let's take a look at the stunning St Mawes and I'll show you why I fell in love with this place. And even though I now live in Cornwall, I still visit regularly. We start, as many people do when heading down to Cornwall, on the good old A30 near Bodmin at the Jamaica Inn, which is a great stop for a pint, pasty and a peruse around the farm and gift shop. It's also steeped in history, dating back to 1750 when it became a coaching inn, when coaches first started crossing the moor, linking the towns of Launceston and Bodmin. There's many a tale of smuggling here too, so if you're an avid historian, this is a great place to find out more about Cornwall's dark past. And indeed, the inn has become somewhat of a ritual stop for people travelling down, with many stopping by on the way to their holidays. The Roseand Peninsula is a bit of a hidden gem in Cornwall, which is distinctly remote, and is always somewhere which has interested me, not just because of the amazing produce that comes from here, but also because it's an unspoilt landscape of cliffs, creeks, woods and beaches, which is a great area to explore on foot. There are coves and dog-friendly bays waiting to be discovered, as well as remnants of medieval and military history and wildlife in the water and sky. Few places in Cornwall can compare with the Roseand, one of the most picturesque and unspoilt parts of the British Isles. Lovely beaches and cliffs, delightful rivers and countryside, pretty villages and hamlets all make the Roseand the perfect holiday setting. Variety being the spice of life, the Roseand offers a wide selection of places to stay to refresh the inner man. Traditional hotels, farmhouse, bed and breakfast, lovely guest houses, quality cottages and caravans, or well-equipped campsites provide your style of accommodation to the standards you expect. Flower-covered pubs, riverside barbecues, cream tea cottages and restaurants of high repute add a little more magic to your holiday. Perched on the end of the Fow estuary, the village of St Mawes looks towards the Carrick Roads. There are miles of footpaths hugging the coastline and beaches, perfect for a picnic and a paddle. Families often spend the day idling around the town and harbour, visiting the castle, or hopping on the Fow River ferry over to Falmouth. So back to how St Mawes stole my heart. It was early evening and we pulled up to the car park at the top of the quay by St Mawes Seafood and the Harbour Master's office. The clutch on the car had almost gone and it was nearly out of petrol and we just struggled to make it, but I'm so glad we did. Stepping out, it felt like another world. The twinkling coloured lights around the harbour, the sound of the sea lapping against the walls, the boats bobbing up and down as the tide came in, the kids jumping off the harbour wall, and the people milling around off for their evening meals and walks. As we walked down to the ship and castle to check in, I don't think I could stop smiling and forgot all about the broken car. I had the best few days here, milling around, taking in the views and the smells and sounds, eating amazingly fresh food and walking around the beautiful harbour. But let's explore a little more about the history of St Mawes and why, in my opinion, it's such an amazing, magical and tranquil place to visit. St Mawes is of course a small fishing village nestled at the end of the Roseand Peninsula. A lovely place to visit and an even better place to live with a strong community spirit. Surrounded by the sea and gentle hills, St Mawes is really quite spectacular. The popular yachting mecca of St Mawes sits on the Fow estuary facing across the Falmouth. St Mawes Castle guards the harbour from its lofty perch above its large neighbour Pendennis Castle. The village boasts 3 boatyards and numerous moorings and anchorages for both visiting and local yachtsmen, providing a stunning vista from the shoreline. Visitors to St Mawes can easily get around by water. Even if you don't have a boat, there are regular ferries across to Falmouth throughout the year, and in the summer, a small ferry crosses to place on the south side of the river. From Falmouth, you can also get a boat upriver to the National Trust's Trizilic Estates. Of course, being right on the waterfront, the village is also known as a haven for the gastro enthusiast. with restaurants and pubs serving up superb fresh and shellfish dishes all year round, as well as more traditional dishes. And indeed, I've had many a good meal here, and I can highly recommend the Watch House. The castle was built under orders of Henry VIII in the 16th century and is now managed by English Heritage. A visit to this is a must if you're in the area. It is not known when the first landing stage was constructed in St Mawes. Some say it was first built earlier in the 6th century by the Brittany saint St Mawes, after whom St Mawes is named, to transfer pilgrims to his chapel and drink from his holy well on Grove Hill. Whilst others say it was built in the mid-16th century to bring stone to construct the magisterial Henrican artillery fort St Mawes Castle. However, the earliest sections of the pier and quay walls which make up the harbour are clearly identifiable and are likely to be 16th century or earlier. These being the vertical sections of laid stone in between the narrow flush splayed piers of horizontally laid stone. Whilst the 16th century Dutch engineers are known to have built the quay walls at Flushing Village, there is no evidence to date that they were engaged at St Mawes. Although curiously, the headland opposite the pier is known as Amsterdam Point. The stone at Flushing Quay is similarly vertical so as to lock tight on itself, but absent of any St Mawes flush blade piers, which are indicative of a superior design, for the piers prevent lateral movement. Several ancient Cornish families emerged as the borough's principal patrons who administered the harbour at various times, and the patronage is complex. By the 1840s, St Mawes Pier had fallen into disrepair and was in a ruinous state, so as to make the landing of goods and persons difficult and dangerous. Such was the poor condition of the old stone pier that the trade and revenue of the port and harbour severely declined. It was hoped by the people of St Mawes that the pier and quay were repaired and rebuilt, and the basin cleansed and deepened. The sea trade might flourish once more and bring prosperity. The St Mawes Pier and Harbour Company was formed under the St Mawes Pier and Harbour Company Act 1854, which was implemented for the purpose of improving the harbour, reconstructing the pier and defining the limits of the port and harbour of St Mawes. Within the Act, the Master of Trinity House of Deptford Strand required a red light to be kept burning every night from sunset to sunrise at the end of the newly repaired pier, at the expense of the company. A cast iron post of an early lantern still remains to this day. A new raft of charges was implemented for vessels and boats entering and traversing the harbour waters, and rates for goods landed. For me, I've always preferred a visit out of season to St Mawes, and ideally in early winter time, where most things are still open, but it's a lot quieter and you feel more like you have the village to yourselves, and can easily get onto activities and book tables at restaurants. But whatever the season, it's highly worth a visit, and I hope someday you make it down to St Mawes. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.